Can I ask you, as in your role as Minister for Justice, to comment on those reports that refugees intending to seek asylum in Ireland have been told to defer any travel plans? This is because of that severe shortage in accommodation. The state now planning to keep the Citywest hub closed to international protection applicants seeking emergency shelter for at least another 4 days. This is a mess, isn't it? We're really in a crisis situation here.
Well, it's not a mess of anyone's making other than a war on the continent of Europe, but it is an extremely difficult situation, and Minister O'Gorman and myself and others have been very upfront about that. The scale of migration, not just here but across Europe, is posing real challenges. This morning I'll be visiting the Border Management Unit and the Garda National Immigration Bureau in Dublin Airport, meeting with them to assess the overall situation. And then later today I'll be travelling to a meeting with Justice and Home Affairs ministers in Stockholm, where we'll be discussing the overall issue of migration.
Yeah.
We're very upfront and clear as a government here. We are entering an extremely challenging period in relation to accommodation and migration.
No, Minister, I think everybody accepts it's really challenging, a huge, and you couldn't have anticipated a year ago. I have heard criticism from the opposition and from others that you don't have all your ducks in a row, that you're not planning this, you're not coordinating this, there's no kind of national strategy for planning this.
No, I think that's, if that is the charge, I think that's an unfair one. I mean, we're operating here in real time. It's not a case of you knew a year ago. It's a case that every single day we're working to put accommodation solutions in place in a less than ideal environment, to put it mildly. You have seen the government go to extraordinary lengths in terms of a number of initiatives, including the use of hotels, including a programme around modular accommodation, including the use of Citywest, and that work continues on a daily basis. But you would be absolutely disingenuous if any minister was to suggest that there's an easy solution or an easy response to this. This requires not just daily but hourly management. That's what's happening by an extraordinarily dedicated bunch of public servants across my own department and Minister O'Gorman's department. And I look forward to being briefed by Border Management Unit and the Gardaí today in relation to what the next number of weeks and months look like and how we can do everything as a government to respond to this. But it is an extremely challenging humanitarian situation.
Minister for Justice and Further and Higher Education, Simon Harris, and before that, Paul Murphy, People Before Profit TD. Thank you both for talking to Newstalk Breakfast this morning.
And staying with that matter that asylum seekers were sleeping rough in Dublin last night, I'm joined now by Aubrey McCarthy, Chairman of Tiglin Homeless Services. Good morning to you, Aubrey. You heard the Minister there say, look, everything that can be done is being done. Is that right? Is enough being done?
I think the government are certainly dealing with a huge issue regarding migration, and I know the figures are showing roughly about 310 international protection applicants are arriving into Ireland each week. And so what has happened is the main hub at Citywest, which was set up to hold 370 people, presently has 858 people staying there. So, I mean, that is just, it's not correct, and it's just not, that can't continue.
So it's about 300% capacity, roughly speaking.
Roughly. But even yesterday, Ciara, we operate the homeless services in Trinity, right beside Trinity College, beside the Trinity Hotel, Pearse Street, called the Lighthouse. And we also have homeless housing beside the forecourt and on Pearse Street, and also we do refugee accommodation as well. But we are bursting at the seams, and yesterday we usually serve up to 250 people for dinner. Yesterday we had 30% again increase on the meals. Yes, last night the same 35% increase. So if that continues, what is going to happen is you're going to have people in sleeping bags, in doorways, and that can't happen. There are other options.
And that's what I was going to ask you, Aubrey. Tell us the solutions, if there are any.
Well, what I'm saying is we need to look at all options, such as you're walking around Dublin, you see Jury's Hotel in Ballsbridge, you see the Bagot Street Hospital. There are areas, old buildings that were used for student accommodation, hotels, etc. And some of them are perhaps in Nama, but these have to be utilised at the moment. And the government it needs to be an all-party and all-government response to it, so that we can deal with this shortage, which is going to last, I'd say, until mid-February.
Okay, and that was my very last question to you. If we continue to see an extra 300 per week arriving ad infinitum, I mean, is there an upper limit, or can there not be an upper limit of the amount of people that we accept?
See, the problem is we've been told by our Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, that we have an obligation to accept international refugees. But I will say that I rarely receive emails from the Refugee Council, and I got one last night to say, please be aware that your services are going to be inundated, and then they outline our services. They're delighted with our help, but we're only a volunteer charity, Tiglin, and so we can't fund and house the people, but we're doing our best. But we're one of many.
We appreciate that, and look, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That is Aubrey McCarthy, the Chairman of Tiglin Homeless Services. It's not going to get any better anytime soon, Shane.
It certainly isn't.